Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the very first edition of Whose Views Sunday Breakfast Live. Welcome. It's me, JT, here with this very exciting endeavor. Yes, we're going to be here for the next hour at least with some of the news headlines that have made it into the Doctor Who world over the last month. Very welcome. Good morning to you here from the United Kingdom. It is 10 o'clock and it is Sunday, the 28th of May. So obviously I cannot do this alone. I cannot go through the headlines of the month alone. So I'd like to bring in from the Whotastic panel. We've got the Time Muddler and we've got John here. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you, chaps?
Cheers.
Good morning and cheers with my nice coffee here to you both. Hope you're all doing well this Sunday morning.
Absolutely. And what a glorious Sunday morning it is this morning. I've got sunshine all the way out there. It's fantastic. So listen, have you got your tea and coffee? Yes. Yep. Okay. Have you got your breakfast ready? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Have you got your buns ready? Oh, not those sort of buns, not those sort. No. What was he thinking? I've no idea. Here we go then. So listen, we're going to start with the reviews of the month here. John, there was another what I would term predictable return earlier this month.
There was indeed, and that return was, my apologies to all viewers for my voice, bit of a crackle just now, but we'll go through. There was indeed a predictable return, Murray Gold, you know, where Russell Davies goes, Murray Gold follows in suit, and it came as no big surprise to anybody that Murray's decided to return. If I may just briefly give you a bit from the press release. Yep. So it goes on to, it mentions revamping the theme tune that Murray's done, to providing the usual word of iconic again, melodies for the Daleks and the Cybermen, and how Murray Gold will once again be, if you like, the lyrical voice of Doctor Who. And Murray himself says, "I'm so happy to be invited back for another joyful ride in the TARDIS. I didn't think twice. Working with Russell and his team is just a pleasure." Now, that can be said by anyone at any time over the last 15, 16 years in terms of a press release. These have all got a bit samey. However, forget the flim-flam, forget all the sort of paraphernalia that surrounds this. I'm actually pleased by this news. And I'll tell you I'm pleased, because for those of people who wished for something new or different, careful what you wish for. We've had 5 years of tour, Sega Nakanola, who produced ambient noise behind the most latest episodes of Doctor Who.
I've never heard ambient music being called ambient noise before.
It wasn't noise. It was just a series of atmospheric notes pressed down. Yeah. I don't remember anything specific or anything memorable from anything he produced. It may well be somebody else's bag, but it's not for Doctor Who. What Murray Gold gave us was distinct themes. You know, whether it's the Doctor, for particular companions, the Gallifrey, for the Time Lords, for enemies. And he proved that in a tune, you can summon up memories, emotions, feelings, sometimes that can be done in a pile of dialogue. See you, Chris Chibnall. However, we've got to be careful that he perhaps tails it back a bit, pulls it back from the drowning out noise that became, perhaps, if you like, sort of symbolic of his latter period on the show. But
this is the actual point, isn't it? I mean, you know, it was really. I'd like to say good morning to Paul Murray there. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. He's put there, Murray Gold was the worst kept secret since David Tennant came back. I have to agree with that. I mean, I hear there were issues about bringing Mr. Gold back, and they had to negotiate. Now, I just hear that. I'm not saying that's substantiated in any sort of way, but it was very predictable, wasn't it? Wasn't it, Time Muddler? It was very predictable that, you know, you could see where this was going. Do you think there's going to be? Do you think he's going to have to change how he presents it? Because I thought towards the end of his time, the whole thing was getting very predictable.
I thought there was a change from series 1 to 4 under RTD. The music changed under Moffat, but that was under direction, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
point was, I think RTD and Murray Gold are on the same wavelength. I think we've had the same issues. I replicate everything John said then. The drowning out the noise was the main negative that everybody said, but that's again the directing issue, isn't it? He brought some commercial element to it as well. So yes, he brought character, mood, sentiment, the lot, with some amazing depth added to some episodes. I mean, I love that. What's it called? The Shepherd's Boy, when it was just a single episode for Capaldi, and that music carried it so well and helped a narrative along. I went to one of the concerts that Murray Gold did. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've bought all his soundtracks.
Yes,
and actually, my memories of the early Doctor Who periods from 2005 to 10, I can, you know, the memories are attached to the music. So I actually, sometimes you want difference. Sometimes you want, you know, the show to move on. And sometimes you actually think, no, I mean, I would have kept Dudley Simpson going now, I'll be honest with you. You know, so, you know, sometimes change is not good. And, you know, Patrick Troughton would have said that about the TARDIS, wouldn't he? He said, I don't like it. You've had everything changed. Don't like it. Well, I actually like this Murray Gold announcement. I really do.
Yes.
Well, that's good to know. As you can see there, we've got the picture up of Murray back in studio with the orchestra there, and that was at the beginning of the month. I have to say, from a fan point of view, it's been very mixed. But you know, I would say on the whole, everybody's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing, because he's coming back. Let's just point out he's coming back for the 3 60th anniversary specials that are being broadcast on BBC One and then on Disney Plus from November, and then it has been confirmed by the production team that he's also going to be carrying on into Gatwa's first season, and then who knows what happens after that. So again, it's part of that familiar aspect, you know, that what's been going on there. So it's very interesting, and all we can do now is wait and see what sort of sounds he's going to bring with him.
Absolutely, but the problem, he's bankable. We know the sort of thing that Murray Gold does. So, and more to the point, he's commercial. You know, I don't see anybody racing to buy anything that Sega Nakanola produced.
Well, you're very right, and of course, the Sega Nakanola ones. At one point, the first series he did there was available for £1 at the works.
Yeah, well, £1 was overpricing it in my end, as far as I'm concerned. However,
oh dear,
Brendan mentioned about here get Dudley Simpson, as indeed would I. Although there were some lovely pieces produced by the Radiophonic Workshop, but you also got to the stage where Roger Lim was letting his gerbil, his pet gerbil, run across a keyboard in the Arc of Infinity or in Time Flight. It was just, again, noise.
Now listen,
it wasn't adding to the drama, it was drowning out. However, one thing I will say is, when money comes back, I hope somebody somewhere has a discussion regarding where music is placed and how it adds to the drama rather than drowns the drama. So,
I was just about to bring that in because I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be exactly as it was before.
It may well be, because that may well be where we're at. Another pet bugbear I have about modern dramas. I was watching a movie with my other half the other night there, and all we could hear was mumbling. It may well be realistic, but I need to hear what's being said. So let's have the music in its place, complementing rather than overstating. But one thing I do look forward to returning are themes for Daleks, for Cybermen, for Companions, and indeed for the Doctor himself, because, yeah, they do add to the drama. And I will stand here as a grown man and tell you how much I cried when Rose was left behind on that beach. I never thought I'd cry about Doctor Who, apart from my beloved Tom. But I cried. And Murray Gold was part of that. Yeah, no, Mum was JT, but you know, that's where we're at.
I would say the musical score can get you whatever age really, but I didn't cry at that scene because by that point I was very pleased to get rid of Rose. But I understand the crescendo that it came about. The only thing that actually ever makes me cry now is the Princess Leia theme by John Williams. That's it. That's the only one because of the memories associated with the lovely Carrie Fisher. So what we're going to have to do is
Jaws theme tune. So there you go.
The Jaws theme's a classic as well, but yeah, they're brilliant. Oh, imagine John Williams on a Doctor Who. Another stream, that's another talk completely. We're going to move on now. And again, good morning to you. Welcome to Who's Views Sunday Breakfast. It's 10:10 in the morning here in the UK. We're going to be moving on now. Brendan, you've noted that there's been particular casting going on in Doctor Who recently.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it a few ways. I mean, when we'll talk later about the titles released and all the rest of it, I mean, it could have been called The Invasion of the Alphabet People, because I've been monitoring this, and I'll keep a monitoring going on. But the latest, I mean, I've kept account. There's been, as far as I'm concerned, there's been about 9 announcements. Or one, we're all guessing Marion Margulies maybe for Beat the Meat, but, and with 9 announcements, we've got 5 gay, 2 straight, 2 trans, and 1 drag. So I'm keeping a note of
that's ticking all the boxes then, isn't it, in this inclusive and diversity-filled world? Well done to them.
It's doing really well. So, I mean, yes, The Invasion of the Alphabet People, it should have been called. But in the latest announcements, we had Indira Varma from, we all pretty well know her from Game of Thrones, Torchwood. She played Susie Costello in Torchwood.
Wasn't she just in the pilot episode, though? The first episode of Torchwood, didn't she get killed off very quickly?
Early on with that, she had that strange metallic hand that.
You see, I don't remember. Yeah. I've got Torchwood is all behind me down there on the bottom shelf, and that's where it stays, because the only one I liked, of course, was Children of Earth, because it came too much of that format for me. It was all Monster of the Week stuff. I didn't get it. So I can't remember. I do remember she was in it, though, and I think Captain Jack with John's character took over from her as the leader, didn't he?
Yeah, well, this was early doors. This was 2006 when she was in it. But she's been, I mean, she's been in some good stuff since. Now, I remember in Game of Thrones, she played a good character in that one. She's a good actress from what I can see.
She's cracking. I've seen her in a few things now. Yeah. She's cracking.
And of course, the hyperbole is always attached to it, so I'm trying to work it out. Yeah, I mean, the best thing about it is we know a name, so we can try and get connotations from that. The Duchess.
Oh, right. So who's she playing? Enlighten us.
So the Duchess. And so what we've got from RTD is this part is going to be truly spectacular. A whole new audience will be hiding behind the settee when the Duchess unleashes her terror. Now, I know.
We've heard this before, haven't we?
I know. I really shouldn't have said all that at breakfast time, because honestly, it might bring a bit back up, because too much hyperbole after your week fix. But
the eggs are coming back already.
I'm feeling discomforted. He also said, of course, it's going to be bigger and wilder and madder with her in the cast. So there you go. I think he's pleased.
I'm pleased he's pleased. I'm pleased with that bit of casting, because, as I said, I have seen her in some others. So I do think she's a really reliable, good actress, and they are few and far between, in my opinion, today, the viewers. I have to be honest. Finding a really good, reliable actor these days is hard work, especially one that can actually act. But with her, I think they've got a nice bit of casting there, and it's not stunt casting or anything like that. It's proper casting about a proper actor in the role. Congratulations to her.
And we haven't, if you really think, I mean, about a repeat visiting character as a female lead, not Missy, because that was dabbling with, I mean, I'll come to that with the DWM stuff later on, but what leads of all the way through? We've all said, is the Rani coming back? But that's the only one we seem to shoot to.
I am so tired of hearing about the Rani coming back. I am sick and tired of it's time for new characters. The Rani. Oh, go away. Leave it alone. We've got another one here. Look at this. Paul Murray's just said, is she the Rani or a female Omega?
well, gender fluid. I mean, I just wondered with the Duchess character, and he does say, she's a key character in it, but the Duchess sounds quite gender specific. So we might not be budging on that one. Everything else is gender fluid in Doctor Who nowadays, and we're all so proud of it. But the Duchess sounds might just stick. Gender.
It's very odd. It's very odd, isn't it? When you telling that she's playing a character called the Duchess, I have to say that in the last book written by Bob Baker with Paul M. Tams for K9, which was called K9 Unleashed. No, that wasn't. What was it called? K9 Megabytes. I've got it over there. I'm looking at it now. They had a new villain in their series called the Countess. So it's very strange, isn't it? Suddenly all these wonderfully grand characters are starting to appear.
I'm sorry to bring it back to the Rani and the Master, but apparently I read somewhere that the Hindi word for Duchess is Rani.
So yes, well, that's exactly. It was something to do with Queen, wasn't it? Because Pip Jane said that years ago.
And it may well be an attempt to, if you like, if he doesn't want to touch the Master soon, it may be an attempt to do something, but at the same point appealing to the older fan base. My one thing about the current casting is I don't know any of these people. I really William Martin. I don't. Maybe that's my age. Maybe it's the programs I watch. but I just don't know any of these people. And I'm wondering, are we catering more for an American audience now than they are for a homegrown British audience?
I think they're catering more for this elusive generation that the BBC are desperate to ensnare into all their programming, just so they can get a future license fee coming out of them, because that's where the future does not lie for the BBC. At some point, they've got to understand the license fee has to go, because you're not going to get, just by putting on continual drag queens and reality shows and love blah 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 and all these trendy actors like Shooty himself actually into Doctor Who, it's not going to guarantee you the next generation of license fee payers. But there you go, there's a Sunday morning.
I do remember when Doctor Who came back, there was, up until the Chibnall era basically, that most stories had a well-known bankable British name in it, and it was seen as a go-to program, Doctor Who, for the wide berth of actors that reside in the UK.
Everybody wanted to be in it because their kids wanted them in it.
Anybody that I know of, from solid British dramas, either past or present, about to come into this show. And for the reasons you say, JT, it will be for the reasons of I made you faint again, Brendan. Sorry.
It happens every time. I think it was that hyperbole earlier. I think that's what happened.
Did you trip over the hyperbole? Is that what happened?
Drunk again. It's Sunday morning. That's what that's about.
It may well be what you say is right, JT, but I still think Doctor Who should be for everybody, and therefore that should also be reflected in its casting.
Well, listen, we're going to be coming back to that very point. John, we're going to be coming back to that very point a little bit later on in the show. Who else, Brendan, did you think?
The other latest one was Jonathan Groff, who...
Now, this is somebody I've never heard of either.
Yeah, well, I know him from... There was a HBO series set in San Francisco about, gay friends, really. And he was the centerpiece in that. And he co-starred with Russell Tovey, and they had a kind of on-off relationship. Now, his acting... I hadn't heard of him before. I'm not a Glee fan. I think he first came to prominence in Glee.
Oh, in Glee.
Yes, he was in Glee playing Jesse. That means nothing to me. He was Agent Smith in The Matrix Resurrections. And he was one of the voices, because he can sing pretty well, in Frozen. He also was...
which I have not seen.
King George III in Hamilton. So he's Broadway.
The only thing I know about Hamilton is it's just up the road from where I'm speaking to you from. That's the only thing I know about Hamilton. But is there not a rumoured musical episode in the new series? Could this factor into that?
Well, yes. I mean, that's the one that allegedly he's going into. Isn't that right?
It is, and of course they've played into that because of his musical background. The headlines were, Doctor Who hits a high note by selecting him. But
the headlines are just so wonderful.
But the only details we've got about, what's his role? I mean, the Duchess was named, but he's not named. It just says, and now he's on his way to jump aboard the TARDIS in a mysterious and exciting guest role. So
it's not the same. Why is it with this production team? And we had this back in 2006, 7, 8 as well, and 9 if you include those 4 extra episodes which rounded off the 10 original era. Why is it always the same? It's always the most important, the most elusive, the most mysterious, the most exciting, the most energetic, and blah. It really is here in 2023 getting really tiring.
If they're not careful, they're going to trip over their hyperbole as well.
Exactly, and it will hurt them. I'm sure it will hurt them. I don't know. I think I mean, good for the actors for being cast in here, and it's exciting for them, I'm sure. I know we're going to come back to it very shortly, but I know that Jonathan has actually started filming. He may have even completed at the time that we're doing this show this morning here on Sunday the 28th of May 2023, but we'll be looking at him again very shortly in costume, which is exciting. Right, so anyway, we're up to date with some of the casting there as well now. Now, one of the things we want to do here on Who Views Sunday Breakfast is we want to look at aspects that are happening out with the United Kingdom. We want to catch up with some of our correspondents from around the globe, and this is the first one. And as you can see, we are heading over to Australia, and joining us live from Australia is our Australian correspondent, MJ. Good day to you. Good day.
Hey, how are you? Is all going all right? You good? ramp up the accent. No. I'm ramping up the accent because I feel we need some accent diversity in here.
Oh, please. We
Scottish going on here. Let's be honest.
Hang on a minute. I will just tick that box now that we've done that. There we go. That's great.
I think it's time.
Less hyperbole.
Guys, look, I mean, there's controversy in Doctor Who. There's casting controversies. There's Doctor Who magazine covers. There's all sorts of things. But the real controversy, in my opinion, is that Australia is once again being shafted.
I'm interested in this because, you know, we hear drips and drabs over here about what's going on. And, you know, it's very concerning. And I just want to know, listen, what is all this stuff? What is going on with ABC? I mean, undoubtedly, Doctor Who, Australia is Doctor Who's second home. It goes United Kingdom, then it goes Australia. In my opinion, it's second home. So what the hell is going on?
I'm glad you said that because I feel like it is a Doctor Who's second home. Well, the ABC, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, not dissimilar in structure to the BBC, although we don't have a license fee. That's the big difference. But the ABC, or Auntie, as we call it, has been screening Doctor Who since 1965, consistently.
Yeah.
Now, as of next year, or this year, no, as of this year, it's going to be on Disney Plus. So the ABC has lost Doctor Who. And I've got to be honest with you, the fan base down here are a little bit gutted. It's been home to Doctor Who, and it's kind of been it's like a warm blanket, Doctor Who on the ABC.
Well, let's put this into context. Doctor Who started obviously 60 years ago in 1963 here in the United Kingdom on BBC One. It's a United Kingdom legendary show. It's part of our culture now. But Australia is not that far behind because if I'm right, it actually got to you guys very shortly after in 64 and started broadcasting.
Yeah, I think 64, 65.
Right. So it's become part of the same thing down there, hasn't it? With, you know, I mean,
absolutely.
I can understand why the fans are upset. Has this come about because of the Disney deal?
Yeah. So it's leaving the ABC. It'll no longer be screened on the ABC, and it's going to be on Disney Plus here, as it will be everywhere else except for the UK. And yeah, as I said, the fan base down here are a little gutted. It was the free to air. We could watch Doctor Who on the ABC. I can remember as a kid in the 80s we had the ABC shop. And I'd go in there and I'd get my technical manual and my 20th anniversary special and my Gary Downey's cookbook and all that stuff was available. Yes, even that was available.
The legend that was Gary Downey with the cookbook. Yeah,
absolutely. But all this stuff was available. The Andrew Skeletor prints, which I have on my wall.
So this was a great deal between the BBC as it was and ABC as it was then, because they were BBC Enterprises were obviously sending all this stuff over.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, the ABC was, as you say, a second home. It was like a smaller version of what you've got over there. And that's been the home. And so, you know, the ABC saved a lot of missing episode clips by censoring it and bizarrely keeping the censored clips. So if you've got your Lost in Time DVD, a lot of those little excerpts of screams and knife attacks
because it was sold over
like 2 seconds were cut from the ABC because of thanks to the ABC. So wish they'd kept the rest of it, but anyway, that's another story. Episodes were found here. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly which episodes were found here, but so I think some of the War Machines was found here. And so, yeah, and also, of course, who could forget, me personally, the ABC helped fund the 5 Doctors.
Yes, which none of us knew about until about 5 years later. So that was very interesting. Even John Nathan Turner wasn't quite keen on that, wasn't aware of that particular one. I wonder what happened to that particular amount of money. I wonder where that went to. So anyway, we've got all that. I mean, I can understand why our fan family down there in Australia is peeved about this, because it's being moved from this free channel, as you say. They're now going to have to pay a subscription to Disney in order to watch the new episodes. Are you getting any sense from fans down there that they're not going to do that? Do you think they're going to invest, if you like, into the Disney Channel, or do you think they're just going to wait for the actual Blu-rays?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit 50-50 down here. I've heard of a lot of fans say, "Yeah, look, no, I'm not going to bother. I'll wait for it on DVD or Blu-ray." Although, as we'll get to in a minute, that's another issue.
Yeah,
So
Paul's
yeah,
just
it's
pointing
a bit
that
of
out
a
there as
split.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. We'll get to that. Yeah, there's a lot of people are miffed. It's a little bit of. It's after the longevity. If Doctor Who had hopped around on different channels, I mean, it was on cable on UK TV for a while. It was shared there, but its home has always been the ABC here. And so
the reason it was on our
hyperbolic. Let's use that word again.
Yeah, the reason it was on our satellite channels here, of course, was because it was off air at that point. I mean, it had 26 continual years on the BBC, as we all know, and then it came back in '96 with that Paul McGann Fox thing for one night only. That was fine, but it also helped. Doctor Who helped to cement the success of a lot of our satellite channels today, didn't it?
So, sorry, JT, can I ask?
Absolutely. And
go on, John, what are you saying?
Michael, can I ask you
Please.
a question? I'm just interested. I wonder either how much notice or if ABC played any part at all in these negotiations, or were they just blanked by the BBC? Because if they were, I find that absolutely disgraceful.
From what I've learned, and it's just been qualitative and observational, but from what I can gather, the ABC were just as surprised as we were, because it made the news that day. It was Doctor Who will no longer be on ABC television. So there was a bit on. It was on the news. I think the breakfast. ABC News Breakfast, which is like your BBC breakfast, probably less eggs, but it made the news. So,
I mean, this is
and of course story. The ABC.
Go on, sorry.
The thing with Australia that often comes up when I hear a lot of these streams when you guys talk about the 5 faces of Doctor Who and so on, those seasons. We were very lucky because we got the ABC repeated Doctor Who all the time.
All the time.
So by the time, like during the 80s, so I grew up in the 1980s, but I grew up with John Pertwee and Tom Baker because they were my doctors because they were on more. Yeah. And so we'd get the new Peter Davison, the new Colin Baker. Then we just go back to John Pertwee and Tom Baker on high rotation.
And didn't we know it over here? UK fandom was starting to hear at this point.
You got some of our tapes.
We did, and we were starting to hear about things. I mean, I went to plenty of conventions in the late 80s, early 90s, where the tapes had come from recordings made in Australia, and we were all asking, why do we not? I mean, it took us ages to, we had to wait for things like B-Sky B and what have you to come along, where we started to see previous things. I mean, you mentioned there as well, so there's a possibility of the Blu-rays being affected. What's going on there?
Well, so the Blu-rays get released here. The boxes are slightly different, but they're available in shops. Principally, there's a shop called I won't plug them, but a large DVD retailer here. There's one of the few physical media outlets in Australia left. Anyway, you could always get Doctor Who new release Blu-rays there. Anyway, we got season 2. Great. Everyone got it and jumped on board. Well, season 9 gets released and we're waiting. We think, well, maybe it's on the next bus, we thought. But no, it didn't turn up. And some people over at a lovely podcast called The Doctor Who Show, I'm pinching some of their information here. They had feedback from a fan who wrote to Universal Pictures, who distribute Doctor Who Blu-rays in Australia on behalf of BBC Studios. And the feedback that came to this fan, which was aired on the Doctor Who Show, full credit to them. This was the feedback that came through. Universal Pictures have been releasing Doctor Who physical content in Australia and New Zealand since 2019 under license from BBC Studios. Before that was, I think, Village Roadshow. Unfortunately, due to the long-term decline of the physical home media market, we have made the painful decision to exit this category during 2023, and what will happen to future BBC releases in the region is not yet known at this point. As part of the closing of operations, all Doctor Who titles are currently inactive. However, you should still be able to find stock of these seasons through various third parties. So the way I read that is not only is Doctor Who physical media, Doctor Who physical media is getting the chop, all physical media is getting the chop as far as Universal is concerned. That's how I read it.
This is a real shock for fandom, isn't it?
We see when I used
to be honest, Sorry, Brendan.
No, go on. No, when I used to live in Australia and when I used to travel in Australia, I mean, it used to be so hard to get a Doctor Who magazine sometimes. It was so hard to sometimes resource material if you weren't in one of the cities. And, you know, sometimes even the ABC shop didn't always provide. And when you think, I mean, I assume the ratings dribbled in the Chibnall era just like everywhere else. So you've
worldwide, yeah.
So we've starved the fans of what they wanted. The Australian fans who, I have to say, I joined some fan clubs in the 1980s in Western Australia.
Yeah.
Way away from anywhere. You know, you can go halfway up Western Australia near Carnarvon and go in, you know,
it's got a big fan base over there.
Yeah, near Geraldton. And I joined that fan club. They were making Doctor Who movies. And you could see once you went to Australia, in the middle of nowhere, you had people who were watching Doctor Who, loving Doctor Who. And now what you're saying, Michael, is they're getting starved of even access to it.
It's shocking. It really is shocking. It's a real shot in the arm, really, in a bad way for the Australian fans. I mean, goodness me, what did they do? I think there's a bigger picture to this. I think there must be something about, it's got to be about business. It's got to be about money. It's got to be about how they can use foreign territories, possibly linked with the Disney deal. But this doesn't look well, does it, this, Michael?
No.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Blu-ray news actually hit everyone here a bit harder than the actual screening, because I don't know, everyone just seems to have a soft spot for the classic show. Don't know why.
But still the bestseller. It's the bestseller.
Yeah, I don't have those figures in front of me, but yeah, look, it was a bit of a blow. I mean, the upside, I will say, I mean, I've been ordering my Blu-rays from the UK because to be honest, I like those standard release boxes better. So I've been getting that. The good thing is the UK and Australia, Blu-ray wise, are the same region. We're both region B.
Yes.
So that's one upside. But
like
you
everything else, as you say, should you?
Well, I was going to say, as you say, Time Muddler, everything is just so much more expensive. I mean, I had to take out a mortgage just to buy the character options Dalek sets. It's just unbelievable. I won't tell you what
the magazine costs a bomb over there.
Oh, $20.
I mean, I feel this is a very disrespectful way to treat the fans out of the UK. Mind you, we're not getting treated that well here, in my opinion, either. But certainly, what's going on there, Michael, MJ, that is really, really worrying and concerning. I think if you could, you need to keep us updated on this so we can come back to this story if it's developing and what the updates are, because there has to be some updates here now. They can't just be cutting Australia off completely. And actually, does this mean that this is going to be happening in other territories?
Well, my other question about it, to be honest, JT, is what does it mean for the Blu-ray range? Is there something going on that we don't know about that's actually bigger than Australia?
Oh, you can only assume that, considering that here in the United Kingdom, we of course are awaiting the next release. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was told, well, not a couple of years ago, last year, I was told that it looked like they were trying to plan as many releases on both the collector's edition and the standard editions as possible. Nothing's happened there. So yes, you could be on the right train there. This could be a bigger picture when it comes to the whole redevelopment, this or redistribution or reproduction. Who knows about that? You know, because we are well overdue a date on the next collector's edition, and we are now in May. I mean,
it'd be a tragedy if they just chopped the Blu-ray line halfway through, wouldn't it?
I think it was stupid. What do you guys think?
Oh, I would miss it terribly. It's and I don't know of any other franchise which could sell people the same thing 4 or 5 times over, and we trip in and buy it.
Tell me about it.
I mean, and I still have my old VHSs. Forgive me. Still have my old VHSs in my loft, which isn't as tidy as yours, JT. But I would hate to lose them, because the quality of not only the finished product that we get to see again, but the quality of the added extras is just fantastic.
They are brilliant.
I would miss them terribly. So hopefully. That's not the case. I don't know what the sales are like. I'm not that far down the line in terms of doing this.
Well, I am. I can tell you that the sales in the United Kingdom of the collector's editions and then the limited editions are incredible. It's one of the most, by far, one of the most popular lines produced by BBC Studios. And they get 2 bites of the cherry, because you get your collector's edition and now you get your standard edition at least a year later. And that's the point. This year, they're losing money because nothing's come out. We've had 1 release. And that's it. I mean, what happens to celebrating the 60th anniversary of this show?
Has COVID, is that the excuse? Usually it's the excuse for everything else.
Well, no, it's not that. But that's well over that now. There is something definitely going on, because I was told last year there would be several releases. It's the 60th anniversary of our beloved show, and it doesn't feel like it. Nothing's happening. We had more, when you think about it, in both Australia and in the United Kingdom. For the 30th anniversary, we had a VHS every single month for 12 months. And that felt like a celebration, because you were skint all the time, because you had all these conventions to go to as well.
It makes sense that you would have had, in the 60th year, you'd have gone back to season 20, because that was the other anniversary year. That would have made sense. We've already had the 10th year released. That you'd have season 1. That you'd have a Troughton.
I saw this year particularly, you would get season 1 and season 20. At least
I saw an actor recently. I won't name them. I don't want to get them in trouble, but they did say season 20 was next. So
because we know that particular actor has been involved with that heavily, and it is. I mean, it's a known secret, isn't it? You know, it's one. I don't know. I can't remember what the term is now, but it's a it's not a kept secret that season 20 was on the development. We've known that for a little while. It's just concerning that it's tying in at a time when you're bringing news to us about what's happening with ABC. I do feel for ABC. I feel completely for all the fans that have been watching it for 60 years, very nearly, on the ABC network. I mean, if that was me, I'd be livid. I would be absolutely livid. And a letter campaign is not what I would be doing right now. But listen,
the other thought is it part of a rebranding thing? I mean, are they just pausing the Blu-ray range in the UK and putting the new logo on and rebranding?
Well, you can't. Well, we don't know about that, but I can tell you that back last year, of course, when the new old logo for this year into next year was announced, the diamond logo, RTD made it very clear that the Blu-rays would not be affected by rebranding, and it would all stay together, because they learned, didn't they? They learned from the VHS range all those years ago. Don't change the look, because we all kick off. So whatever happens, we're stuck with it now. It's like the Target novels that the BBC are doing. We're stuck with that format now as well.
Those Blu-rays would look lovely with that logo, wouldn't they? I just want
everything looks lovely with that. Everything looks lovely with that old logo.
Before I go, I know you've got to wrap up. But Garbage is asking if it's breakfast in Australia too. Yes, it's a very long breakfast, and I can tell you, because I'm coming to you from the future, the 28th of May is a lovely day, so you'll love it. You'll have a great time.
Very good.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. Listen, MJ, I really appreciate you joining us. We'll see you again. Well, hopefully with some more updates on the Australian news. You have a great evening, because it's evening down there. So have a great evening, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you for that update live from Australia. Yeah, cheers. Bye. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So listen, before we go on for the next item there, if you are watching us on this, and if you are outside the UK and think that you could participate in our live shows here on Sunday Breakfast with news that's happening, especially in fandom in your country, then please like our Facebook page and get in touch with me, JT, via our Facebook page, because we're looking for correspondents from around the world that can bring us up to date with what is actually happening in your country. Get in touch. The Facebook page is Who's Views. It's Sunday Breakfast here on Who's Views. It's Sunday, the 28th of May, 2023. It is coming up to 20 to 11 here in the United Kingdom. We're now going to move on from all of that to the next headline, and it's, well, the reveal of costumes for the next series. Go on then. Okay, right, so what we've got here is we've got the fact that it doesn't appear anymore that the Doctor is going to be, well, he's not got the traditional costume anymore. And have you guys seen this? We've had several reveals in the last few weeks as they film. We've got these. So this is the 15th Doctor, played, of course, by Ncuti Gatwa, with his new companion on set for what apparently is a 60s episode. Have you seen these pictures, gentlemen?
Yes, I have, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we make of this? What do we make with this break of tradition?
In what way are you saying it's breaking tradition? I'm just trying to work out, because it's a bit tense, isn't it?
I think I can understand what JT means in that, well, the Doctor, his costume may well have evolved and changed. It's certain, each Doctor had a look, if you like, over the years, you know, it solidified, particularly for 5 and 6 and 7. But most Doctors had a very distinct shape in terms of the costume.
Silhouette.
They've all had the silhouette, haven't they? So all,
this Doctor has no particular style, it seems, you know. With the original pictures of Ncuti had a lovely sort of Velma orange jacket and checked trousers. I see Velma as in Scooby-Doo, and it looked quite good. And I thought, that's quite a good look. And a pair of brown brogues on too. And I thought, I can go with that. It's better than the what we've just been used to. But then subsequently, we've seen for each story, the Regency story, the 60s story, Shooty seems to be dressing appropriate to the era that he appears to be landing in. So it may well be that we're not getting a specific, as you say, Brendan, silhouette for this Doctor, which I think would be a bit of a shame.
Well, it certainly doesn't look like he is, because you just mentioned the Regency episode there, and there he is in costume with this. So it does seem to be a different costume for every single episode. And there is the gentleman there. That's Jonathan Groth on the left, who actually looks very doctory in that outfit, I have to say. But, you know, years and years ago, Colin Baker actually said something along the lines of, well, the Doctor must be a very smelly man because he wears the same clothes all through his existence, all through his incarnation. But now this is a break with tradition because we don't, I mean, the cosplayers must be going insane because we don't have one outfit now. So what's this? This is outfit number 3 or 4 that we've seen him in?
Yeah, certainly the third.
It's number 4 because he had that 70s one as well, didn't he?
He had a sort of shaft type outfit on, a big long leather jacket as he darted out of the TARDIS in one particular shot that I saw. Sorry, Brendan.
No, it's all right. I mean, you know me, I'll go back to what I thought I was, you know, my original thoughts when I was a kid. And I'm you know, when I hear fans talking about these costumes, and of course we're trying to work through, you know, what does it mean about the Doctor, but I wasn't too happy, I have to say, with Peter Davison's. I remember it seemed a costume to me. It seemed very theme. Obviously, the 6th Doctor, it was like an outrage. Dr. 7 with the umbrella and all the question marks. As a teenager, I wasn't buying into all this. I thought you were doing down my program.
It was ahead of its time, though, Time Muddler, because what, of course, John was supposed to be doing there was marketing these things. It was all about, and now years later, you can get a question mark umbrella. You can't see it, but it's behind me there. So he was ahead of his time when it came to some of these outfits.
Maybe ahead, but it was where commercial was really pushing in.
Starting. Yeah.
I know. I mean, we had the Tom Baker question mark, and I preferred the earlier stuff. Doctor 8, happy with. Doctor 9, happy with. Doctor 10, very happy with. Doctor 11, Doctor 12, back to the norm. And yes, the silhouette was there to a degree. But I must admit, with a lot of Tennant episodes, you had the spaceman and all the rest of it, the astronaut gear and various things. And he did the quiff for the 50s episode. I wonder whether this is actually quite... well, not respectful. There's an awful lot of kind of confidence in Ncuti Gatwa that actually the Doctor can be carried by Ncuti so well and distinctly that we don't need to hide behind a thematic outfit all the time. I mean, we're guessing, but because let's be honest with you, I agree with you. I mean, Tom Baker, we'd have the Sherlock Holmes episode. There were a couple of others where he dabbled around with the outfit, but yes, it was that silhouette and we all loved it. I remember though being about, God, how old was I then when Tom Baker regenerated, as in from John Pertwee? And I remember thinking I didn't like it. I really didn't like it because you had the very Pertwee and ruffled stuff and very authority figure, and like my granddad. And then suddenly you had all this scarf and mess. And I remember as a kid being troubled by that.
That's an interesting point, though, because when you look at especially the first 4 Doctors, it might be the same man, but they're completely different. And the outfit corresponds to that difference. It shows a different aspect of their character. Now, the outfits do slightly evolve. You know, you do get different coats, you get different scarves, you get different shoes, you get whatever it's going to be. But, you know, what I'm seeing from fandom in the UK at the moment is a case of this is a change because the Doctor doesn't anymore. He doesn't have one regular outfit that distinguishes that particular Doctor, that signifies that particular character. So, you know, there are, again, it's something different for fans, and some of them are actually, you know, saying, oh, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel right. I mean, Paul's just saying there, does the Doctor need a look but not a uniform? I don't think he needs a uniform at all. But should there be a recognizable look rather than different
I was going to refer to what Paul had just said there. I think it does need a look. That's particularly important for children. You know, I remember myself aching on, back in the days before merchandise, getting aunties and grannies to knit me scarves, which I could knit together to make a long Tom Baker scarf. That was vitally important when you were out, not cosplaying, just playing Doctor Who. And the Doctor needs something that either boys or girls can go and rifle in wardrobes to mimic and copy that look.
And
So it may not be exactly the same, but it just has to be very definitively, this is the Doctor. And if we have the Doctor changing outfits a bit like Simon Templar or John Steed or whoever it is in any of the other equivalent sort of genre show from the time the Doctor Who started, then I think it misses something about the character. While branding is important, while merchandise is important, just to get back to the roots of this thing, he needs a look for kids to copy.
But I just wonder, can I just say one thing? And I've forgotten the name of it. RTD had a nice little idea that, you know, that psychic paper? So that actually, it was a nice plot device just to move the thing on without too much explanation. It is possible, you know, you can upgrade the psychic paper, so to speak, to the whole outfit. You know, like when Matt Smith's Doctor died, he was young. Sorry, he was old, but he had the young facade on for the regeneration.
You see, now I think you're getting into real fan obsessive territory here. I think you're reading too much into this. I think this is just because they want him to wear different clothes.
I think it's possible he could have a kind of default wallpaper, so to speak. Because if you think of his hair is long, it's short, it's all over the shop per episode. Now, you can't grow your hair that fast. So I'm just wondering whether there's like a chameleon effect, like the TARDIS.
Precisely, and we've seen certain internal shots of the TARDIS looking purple. So it seems as though the TARDIS itself in this incarnation may well change its interior. May well be something on with the Doctor's costume as well. You might be onto something there, Brendan. Who knows? But I still bring it back to the initial point. I think the Doctor needs a silhouette. He needs a look. Let the companion be the clothes source, but give us the Doctor wearing his. He should stand out.
Yes,
in different areas. He should be the man apart whenever he lands. And he says, as I say, let the companion be male or female. Take to the costume of the period and let the Doctor be the man apart in that particular show.
I've always said, let the Doctor be a time traveler. And while I love the look of, say, Tom or John traveling around, because they were very much based on sort of history, if you like, as well. Even Tom's had a sort of Edwardian template to it, really. You know, it was there. As they've lost that, you know, you couldn't actually necessarily, you know, Eccleston, for example, didn't, for me, look right in The Unquiet Dead, as an example, because it just stood out too much as being far too much futuristic. The only thing we can do on this is wait and see what it's going to look like. But, you know, it could be, my point in, he's actually having fun, this particular. This could be the dressing up Doctor. The Doctor that thinks, well, actually, I'm going from time period to time period. And after all these centuries, I might actually just try and blend in a little bit more. It's interesting. It's something that we're going to have to wait and see what comes through. But who knows what's going to be coming next when it comes to the costumes. We'll be talking about it as soon as we get more information, though, here on Sunday Breakfast. We're going to move on now to the next news item. And Time Muddler, this week, the new Doctor Who magazine dropped.
It did. I mean, I know you've got your own copy, but that's it with the print on, because the copy I get in the post does the kind of, you know, the clean condition one. And of course, there were certain features that I'm very happy with. You've got the usual archives, you've got Wheel in Space, etc., etc. All happy. TARDIS tins back, that sort of thing. But one of the main features was Russell T Davies on casting. Rose. Plus, we fly the flag for Doctor Who's LGBTQ plus icons. And this is where it got interesting. I mean, I went through all 12 characters that, I mean, Richard Irwin, who wrote the article, he's a gay theatre critic.
Right.
Yeah, and so he's got skin in the game, so to speak. Now, you know, I'm gay, but I want things done. I don't know. I just want to enjoy my program, really. Now, I had a look at these 12 characters, and it was also interesting what RTD said about casting Rose, and it threw up some of the issues that you've talked about. Here, there, and everywhere, JT. So basically, why did he pick Rose, as in Yasmin Finney? He said, "I'm only going to pick good actors. That that's the main thing in the game here." The joy of casting her, he said, was it makes his own experience richer. He said working with her. Now, this is with the actress, not the character, because remember, he invented the character for this great sci-fi series. But what he said is working with her. So he's already appointed her. Let me get this right. Working with her, I witnessed her ideals, her politics, her family, her fights, her triumphs, her life in the world. I hope I can do more like this, because he's learning as he gets to know her to put Murby more into the program. And so it almost sounds like he's appointed her and got to know her, and now he likes, you know, he's stimulated as a writer to put more in.
Well,
the other thing is,
I mean, he saw what happened is he saw the massive success on Netflix last year, Heartstopper, and it resonated. I mean, he just went, I need this, and also because it ties in with his own personal aggressive agenda that we all know about TQI issues. That's why he's done it. That's why it's now coming to Who.
You know, he's also said, he has been quoted, hasn't he, saying, and he had this argument from Queer as Folk onwards, which is he really thinks gay actors should play gay roles. And, you know, he's been distinct on that. And so when I did my little kind of count earlier of the 9 selections so far, and 5 of them being gay, you start to think, well, are they going to play gay, or are they just, you know, because he's been very distinct. Now, part of this feature, they went through 12 significant LGBTQ characters in Doctor Who. And I have to say, I was quite perplexed, thinking, really? Now, what they said, and I have to say, this is when, you know, you're thinking, the answer's under your nose, mate. So this is Richard Irwin saying, when it comes to, let's have a look. I'll have to read this out. When it comes to actual verifiable representation of sexuality and gender minorities on screen,
crying out loud. I'm bored already.
The first 26 seasons are thin on the ground. Well, yes,
of course they bloody are, because they were set in a different time.
And we weren't accepting, and we still aren't accepting, some of the issues that are going on now. So the 12 characters, here we go. The Quarks and Chameleons were non-binary.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Alpha Centauri was Alpha Centauri.
Yes.
We had the scientist Stuart Hyde in the Time Monster was clearly coded as gay.
Really? That's news to me, mate.
Obviously, we've got Ace and the cheetah Kara in Survival. Lesbian romance. We've got Yasmin Khan, of course. Jake Willis.
I dispute that. That wasn't lesbian. That was supposed to be Sicily. But now, of course, they'll label it lesbian because it's trendy.
This is the problem. So basically, and now we've got Jake Willis and Adam Lang, who we all remember from Praxeus.
No, we don't. I don't remember that at all.
Bill Potts, Madame Vastra and Jenny Flint, we know. Missy, to prove that gender is fluid and interchangeable. This is where we get into the trap. Clara Oswald was bisexual.
Well, I sort of got that approach at the time, actually. You know, because there was all this thing, especially in Day of the Doctor, you know, she'd met, what was it, Jane Austen or something like that? And there was that sort of hint. So I sort of got that already. But it wasn't overplayed, and it didn't really involve the story as it shouldn't do.
No, what about this last one? This last quote from, because Richard Irwin did all the rest. RTD talked about Yasmin Finney's appointments, but Richard Irwin goes through these other 11 characters. But what... He's got people who's written in to give kind of their comments. And what it says here is the the Doctor Who character played by Peter Capaldi in Deep Breath when he regenerated. The character I feel most represented, this is what this person says, is the character I feel most represented by as a trans person is Capaldi's Doctor. Because he asks Clara when she's confused as to why she doesn't look like Matt Smith anymore. He said, please just see me.
What?
And the person says that's an extended metaphor for being a trans person. So this is what we get in the magazine.
This reminds me of that lovely saying from the TV movie with I love humans, always seeing patterns in things that aren't there. And that is exactly what this nonsense is. Without having to address the actual issues here, because I might end up disappearing up my own fundament if I did that. What worries me about this, that a magazine which is trying to reinstate itself, a program which is trying to pull people back to it after years of decline, sees fit to produce and pay for an article of that description. If I was a teenage Doctor Who fan and I picked that up and flicked through that, I'd be, what the hell is this all about? Okay. You know, so I can only imagine, and I'm speculating, that somewhere along the line, the editor of Doctor Who has had his arm twisted behind his back
to include this article by the current production team in order, as you say, to appeal to the ticky box mentality, because ultimately Panini prints Doctor Who magazine to make money.
Absolutely.
This sort of stuff is not going to make anybody any money, and you've got every right to produce and father an article like that, but it belongs in the Pink Paper or some magazine like that. It doesn't belong in Doctor Who magazine, nor if it wants to make money.
I would agree with you, John. I would agree with you, John. What I'm disappointed about this now, I've stopped buying Doctor Who magazine after a brief return because I can't justify the cost of it a month because it doesn't sustain my interest. I'll be very honest. And then I saw where this show is obviously going, of which this is the next bit. Now, I'm also gay. You've been very diplomatic there, John. I won't be. What I see here is the fact that they are absolutely trying to keep on the good side of Russell. Because Russell sometimes comes across to me as a bit of a bully, especially with his famous rants of 2022. He's off again this week because I'll put something up very shortly as well. You know, he's going on about this. He's anti-Tory. He's anti-this. He seems to think there's some sort of war going on. And I just think it's such a shame that Doctor Who magazine has now been pulled into this TQI plus propaganda. Now, I just want to make it very, very clear to heterosexuals that may be tuning into this show. Whatever Russell T Davies says, LGB is most definitely without the TQI. LGB has always been about same-sex issues. TQI is to do with gender and other issues which are nothing to do with same-sex. There is a massive movement right now from millions of lesbians, gays, and bisexual men and women around the planet to divorce the T, the Q, and the I from our communities. Unfortunately, we are now also dealing with a younger generation that have been totally brainwashed and thinking it's all the same thing. It's not. And if you do the research, you'll see that the trans activists in particular are incredibly homophobic. And that's something that I fought against in the late 80s and late 90s. And it's such a shame that these people are jumping continually in the name of equality, inclusion, progression, all these words I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about, and not understanding the fuller picture. And that's going to alienate a lot of people from Doctor Who magazine, because mainly heterosexuals buy that magazine.
And surely it is not controversial as a gay man to say, I really don't like the acronym, but when it comes to Q, I'm offended.
Well, it is. Sorry. I mean, you should know yourself. Well, it is. I mean, what's happening now is that gay men and women and bisexual men and women who are saying this are hateful. We are spat at. We are thrown out of Pride. We are excluded from what used to be gay bars. They're now more TQI bars. We are not the right person. And I can guarantee you that if you do not agree with this TQI agenda in Doctor Who now, you are not going to get a job. I mean, there are certain people involved with the new version of the show, the casting director, the directors, all these sorts of the producers, that have barred me from social media platforms. Now, that's because I will challenge them and I will say something different. So eventually they've just blocked me as a spiteful, nastyist, phobe, whatever it's going to be, even though I'm an openly gay man and have been since the age of 17, 18 years old. So I think that's, but there is a resentment towards those of us across the world, and believe you me, there are millions of us that don't want anything to do with this TQI agenda and don't agree with the fact that young women in particular who may just be lesbian are being transitioned. It's a massive, massive thing, but heterosexuals who are jumping on the bandwagon need to do their homework, and this is what Doctor Who magazine hasn't done.
And I'm fascinated, why was there a feature on LGBTQ characters now? Pride Month. And of course, you've had a kickback with Adidas with their outfits. You've had a kickback with Bud Light. You've had a kickback with Target in America. And it seems to me, instead of just doing magazine articles, good old reviews and all the usual stuff, and, casting of new characters, that's fine, and interviews with them, we all love that as fans. We've now got this imposition of politics and propaganda because it's coming up to June. I'm sorry. What? No, stop it. Parents who are taking their kids into a shop don't want to see that, the rainbow thing has just been imposed. And as a kid, as you say, straight, confused, whatever, buying their magazine because they love Doctor Who, are suddenly going, I never saw any of this in Doctor Who. Is this the program for me?
It's being enforced.
And it might alienate kids. I mean, not every kid wants to say, I'm part of this this organisation. I'm part of this.
From what you've said there, that article is absolute BS. It's total BS. It's fantasy made by this guy who's got an agenda. I mean, I looked into when you told me who was writing this because I don't mind doing. I'm not surprised because he's worked for things like Gay Times and Pink News, which no longer represent the LGBT community. It's all TQ, TQ, TQ. I just want to also point out for those people that are watching that do not know, Q stands for queer. There is nothing queer about being homosexual. We don't like the word. It's still a homophobic slur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just to bring it back again to the point about the magazine, you talked about not buying it anymore, GT, after sort of flirting with it again.
Yes.
I like Brendan. I'm a subscriber, and my subscription renewed in just this month in May. I'd forgotten when it was up for renewal. Had I realised, I would have cancelled it. Now, it's done, it's paid for all the rest of it. And immediately after my renewal, I received this copy. I questioned the cover. I don't know how you're attracting a new audience to Doctor Who by putting a character they haven't met yet. Now, it may well be that
because it's June, John. It's June.
It may well be, absolutely. Well, we know that, yeah. But nonetheless, as Rupert Murdoch said, it's not about blue and green, blue and red. It's about green. It's about them making money. And why they couldn't stick Catherine Tate on the front of that cover if they wanted to flag up the new series and what was going forward, that's what they should be doing. But you say it is about upping the agenda. I absolutely am almost convinced that they will have it been forced into this, because ultimately it's not going to make money. And I wonder, and I worry as well as wonder about the impact about this on the magazine circulation going forward. They're going to have a lot of, ground to make up, building up to the anniversary in November. Is it 5 or 6 editions left before that?
Well, let's face it, in their planning, they'll be there now. They will be there now.
I looked at what was coming up next issue, and it said about this Doomsday, this dreadful woman who's doing this dreadful online.
We're not talking about that on this show. We're not going to. That's a waste of space. We're not going to talk about that.
In terms of the magazine, we're not going to talk about that. But in terms of the magazine, that's what we've got to look forward to next time round.
Get it off. Get that off my show.
Awful.
This is the point, but I can. It's becoming very clear now. Yes, I think I agree with both of you there. And yes, it is because it's the alleged Pride Month, which is more about TQI plus now than it is about LGB, because a lot of us have been kicked out of the various prides around the country. Lesbians and gay men are kicked out of these things now. That's a fact. The TQI mob, who are this cult, if you like, don't want us talking it. But it's unfortunate that Doctor Who magazine, as I say, has been drawn into this. And it's unfortunate that it looks like it's going to be in the next version of Doctor Who. I can almost right now guarantee you, and if it's not, I'll be very shocked, but it looks like it's going to be, that you're going to get more of the same that you've had over the last few years in this next version of Doctor Who. We're going to leave that one there because it's just gone 11 o'clock here on Who's View Sunday Breakfast, Sunday the 28th of May. We probably will return that back in future live stream shows. So yeah, it's just gone 11 o'clock. Good morning to you. Welcome to this. Please like and subscribe to this video and also to our channel. You are very, very welcome. We're going to move on to the fact that this has also been, tying in with what you've just said there, why couldn't have this been on the cover? Because recently we've had the leads of the new 3 episodes at the BAFTAs. Yes, we had the lovely Catherine Tate and David Tennant looking very swish and snazzy there at the BAFTAs recently here in the United Kingdom. But my question for you guys is, did anyone care?
No.
Probably not. And if they did, and then they glanced at Doctor Who magazine, they stopped caring again. I watched the clip and I thought Catherine Tate, as always, was splendid. She was splendid in delivering the UK's points. She is just an absolute fantastic force to be reckoned with, and we are very lucky to have her as part of the Doctor Who brand. But whether or not those trailers, which preempted that and followed Eurovision, or just in front of Eurovision, are going to help Doctor Who or not, I'm not so sure. It was all a bit meh. I'm actually looking forward to this, but that's despite the BBC's publicity instead of because of it.
Well, funny enough, in the magazine, RTD talks about this because, the big stunt was it was jammed just before the Eurovision, wasn't it, with a big captive audience?
Yeah.
To reveal the 3 titles.
We'll come to that in a minute.
But RTD said he wasn't. It wasn't. He'd been too busy doing other stuff. He'd mooted that he wanted things done a certain way at a big event, and we could stagger it and then reveal the titles. But actually, he had a word with Julie Gardner, who said, "Actually, we've been on this for ages, Russell, and we are doing this." So basically, we always talk about RTD as the thinks through everything and how to get a quick kind of advert. But actually, he says that Julie Gardner and Bad Wolf are all over this. Really,
this is what I think. Russell, don't drop the T, as I call him, needs to be absolutely reined in with everything he's doing, and I'm really hoping that Julie and Jane, as well as executives from BBC Studios and possibly even Disney, are doing that. However, we all know what the show business industry is like. They are all incredibly left-wing radicals. And I don't think they will be. And that worries me about this. And also because they seem to think that the sun shines out of Russell Don't Drop the T's arse, because he's had huge successes. And I'm not going to deny that. He's had huge successes from 1999 onwards. He brought Doctor Who back with such passion and energy and success. But we are not dealing with the same people we were dealing with in 2003 and 2004. These people have moved on. They have really had a lot of time also in the Hollywood circuit in America, which is one of the most unhealthiest and vile places you can actually be. No disrespect for any normal person that lives there, but show business is like that. And I'm just very, very concerned that they're not actually reining him in, if you know what I mean. I just want to say hello to TARDIS Spider. Thank you. I'm glad you made it. Good morning to you. It's 5 a.m. where he is. Good morning. Happy breakfast time to you.
5 a.m. is the middle of the night, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had this discussion a few weeks back regarding the agenda setting that this version of RTD might have. I'm nothing if not an optimist, and hope that if he is setting an agenda, it's very much subliminal and very much in the background. And what is to the forefront is good characterizations, good stories, and rollicking good tales. That way lies success for this iteration of Doctor Who. If it's going to go woke, it will, as they say, go broke. So hopefully that's not going to happen. I still have faith in him. I will wait and see what this looks like before I cast judgment. But I can understand your reticence, JT. Absolutely, I do understand that. But so far, what's annoying me is that the BBC, these trailers, they are so low key. They're not. They don't exactly inspire people to watch it. We will.
Let me come to the trailers in a minute, because I just want to say that also at the BAFTAs, in case you missed them, were Freema Agyeman, and that on the bottom right is Billie Piper. And doesn't she look? Well, they all look incredible, but I was stunned by that. Billie looks superb. My God, I've met her. She liked me, but she doesn't she look gorgeous?
I have to say that my eyes are drawn to Catherine Tate. I can't understand why. Billie is looking good, but for some reason my eyes keep straying up to the.
I mean, that's one of a hell of a push-up bra there, Catherine. I mean, come on.
And as I think it was it Paul? Paul Murray said that he brought Right Said Fred with her.
I'm very entertaining. Right Said Fred were. That's absolutely brilliant. But I just wanted to say that, I mean, look at that. There were reunions of sorts going on there with that. So,
well, Freema, good old Freema, she's done so well in her career. She looks so stylish there. I mean, she's done very well in her career.
She really has. She really has. I mean, Russell T Davies went on record a few years ago saying they should have done more with Freema. I totally agree, but she had a stellar career. It's brilliant. We did mention there as well that the BAFTAs, Tennant and Tate going to the BAFTAs and being part of this awards ceremony was part of the branding. It was part of the publicity. It was part of being able to try to tell the public Doctor Who is still around. Not that the public cares, because the BAFTAs as well didn't get very good ratings, because we in the United Kingdom are slowly and painfully waking up to what's going on with celebrity. Just this week, we've had more that will actually completely, and we won't go into it, we have completely, will wake people up to that industry and the falseness of it. But it was part of this thing. Now, all that week as well, the BBC were dropping. Now, they're not, I mean, a lot of other fans and a lot of other shows are calling them trailers. I would call them more teasers, because they're not a trailer. It's just something to go. And to be honest, they weren't, in my opinion, made for fans. They were made to try and keep that whole thing around the BAFTAs in the public eye. These little 60-second insert things that I'm sure everybody's seen. But as part of that, we got, of course, as you mentioned there, the reveal of the next titles. So Special 1 is called The Star Beast, which is the familiar title. Special 2 is called Wild Blue Yonder. And Special 3 is called The Giggle. Now, these are the 60th anniversary specials, which are coming out onto BBC One on the for the 60th anniversary, November 2023, followed very swiftly by Disney Plus across the rest of the world. What do you make of these guys?
It's the Wild Blue Yonder one that seems very intriguing. And as we noted in the 3 trailers for them, you see less. And of course, it does link specifically to lyrics from a song. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. At 'em boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one heck of a roar. We live in fame or go down in flame. Nothing can stop the Army Air Corps. Now, RTD has referenced this and said the music will foreshadow a terrible portent. And he actually asked the crew, because most people, when they reference this title, think, is it Wide Blue Yonder or Wild? And he said it could be relevant to both in how the plot works. But he's tried to give less away on that one. That's what intrigues me. Are they facing Armageddon, Judgment Day, since Donna's involved? Is this time to make a stand? That just gives me more kind of intrigue. It's the middle one that gets me.
Well, the thing about me here, John, is this had absolutely no impact on the great British public. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody gave a toss. Even in fandom, the majority of us were like, yeah. So that says a lot. I mean, bearing in mind that it is still only May. They've got 6 more months to build up to this thing that's happening in November. It's still only May. But I was quite disheartened by the fact that nobody cared.
Yeah, it came and went, you know, a bit like a dark squib or a rainy Thursday afternoon. You know, it happened and that was it. Fans may well have been kicking off about the lack of content in these teasers because they weren't trailers, but it doesn't bother me. It was the way they were produced, and it's how you sell these things. It can make a bigger impact if it just had been sort of more of a professional affair about it. I just feel it came and it went. The titles don't trouble me. A lot of people talking about The Giggle being a regeneration story, and it should be something a bit more, sort of portentous or whatever.
It's science fiction. It could be
interestingly, I know they chose the time tunnel from the Eccleston and Tennant years to put behind those titles, although the font is different. So there may well be something going on there with that. I don't know. But yeah, I can remember about this time back from the 5 Doctors, and I'm sorry to bring it back to old time Who, but we'd had a press call with all the Doctors and K9 and some of the returning companions with John Nathan Turner there. Really, one photograph was enough to whet our appetite for what was to come in November. Now, I understand the need for spoilers, not to have spoilers. I understand the need for surprises. But within that, there is still the case made that you can, and Russell Davies is good at this, he could be leaking out information bit by bit, a little bit, building up to this. It may well be now that this is in the hands of somebody else because he's concentrating on the new series. Who knows? But I still think the time now, we're talking about Doctor Who magazine only having 5 or 6 more copies, and there's nothing much seems to be happening there. The time is now to start whetting the appetite of the British public to say, this is an event and it's coming at you this November, and doing such a way that it
wets. You know what? I'll be honest with you, because if I go online and all the rest of it, I'll hear all the fuss saying, I wonder if Eurovision's going to show something. I wonder if in the FA Cup final at halftime they're going to show something. And to be quite honest, I actually just think there's a little bit of a silly online frenzy saying we just want reveals all the time. I go back to the old days. You got a snippet of a hint in a magazine.
Absolutely.
I don't really want every time there's a big national event that you get another 30-second clip of the program that's about to come. I think it's too early.
It is too early. It is too early. And that's where fans forget. You know, these sort of things can't just be for them. It has to be for the bigger picture, because this show lost millions of viewers over the last few years, and most of them were absolutely fine. We know it went down to 2 million. That's 2 million fans, just fans watching it, basically. The rest of us had gone. We had left. At the moment, they're not doing much to try and bring any of us back at all. So what they're trying to do, of course, is they're making this big thing. They're doing these teasers, but it is too early. And that's why right now it gets swamped with it. I mean, we've got Wimbledon to come next. And, you know, I've been saying for years now, the show is still not popular in the United Kingdom. It's old hat. It's been going for 13, 14, 15 years, whatever it is now. And it's become a little bit dull and boring. And the last version of the show obviously alienated lots and lots of the British public, especially. I don't care what the alleged activists call it. It did, because the figures are there, and that is fact. But to start doing something in May, it is extremely early.
I mean,
it is, but we live in it. I tend to agree with you both, but nonetheless, we live in an age of event television, and a lot of people. I'm surprised very much that in October we weren't getting, coming soon in May, a regenerated monarchy, a new king, you know, that we were getting teasers for the coronation coming up. That's just the world in which we live in. And I think they wanted to make this an event, and that's the reason why they're teasing us.
But the problem with that, John,
but they're not doing it well. That's the point. If you're going to do this, do it better than the way you are.
Put it this way. Talking to friends of mine who know I'm a Doctor Who fan, so they kind of come to me. They're casual viewers. They can take or leave Doctor Who, but they have watched it in the past. They're saying to me, when they've seen these bits of trailers, they're saying to me, "Oh, so it's going to be on in May bank holiday. Oh, it's going to be on soon." I'm thinking, no, it's going to be on in November. And they're looking at me bemused. They don't know why it's advertising now if it's not going to be on TV soon.
Well, the other thing, as I keep saying, there is no audience for it at the moment, and these little things are being missed because there's bigger things going on, like the King's coronation, or like the Eurovision, or like what's going on. We've got, as I say, we've got Wimbledon coming next, and the more that they put these things in, desperately trying to find where the audience is, and yet they're coming out with certain things which are so obviously tailored at a particular market, which is the TQI activist lot, and they're desperately trying to find these youngsters that are just not going to come to the show in the way they want to, and they're not going to support it the way we all did. Right now, I think, you know, it's all well and good putting these little things out there. It's not having an impact. The public in the United Kingdom are not responding to it at all. They need to do something major in October to get everybody coming back to these 3 nights.
At the risk of repeating myself, JT, well, I agree with a lot of what you say. I think the reason why they're tying it to, whether it's the coronation, whether it's Wimbledon, whether it's Eurovision,
you've got an audience.
They're trying to make, by tying it to other events, they're trying to make this in itself an event. Now, I think that's the reason why they're doing it. I think they're doing it badly, because that's not thinking they should come. There should be something put in this Doctor Who's going to be 16 November 23, so people are aware of the fact that it's not going to drop anytime soon, but they're trying to make an event of this by tying it to other events. It's just that they're doing it terribly.
You're absolutely right. They're trying to find an audience, because these things, Eurovision got huge amounts of people watching. So did the King's coronation, obviously. Wimbledon will get great figures as well. And they will try and do that to tie it on. But I genuinely think whether they try and put it into these big, huge viewing figure shows or event television here, I just generally think the BBC, the great British public are turning around and ugh.
But it could be that because Jodie was such a failure, I'm not
that's exactly what it is.
But both Garbage and Paul are talking about cleansing the palate. They have to up the fact that that's over. Jodie is over. Tennant is back. Now, whether you agree with Tennant coming back or not, that's what's happening. So what they have to do is provide an amuse bouche, if you like, towards whether it's cleansing the palate or tantalising the palate of the British public. And that's, I'm sure, the intent here, to let them know she's gone, he's here, we're back on track. But they're not doing it well.
No, and that's why I'm saying in October they need to do something almighty, because so far, in my opinion, 2023 has been the biggest damp squid in years. We even got more in the 50th. Nobody knows that Doctor Who is 60 this year. I've had to tell people recently, I've done this particular, and it's to celebrate Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, and they go, what? And that's the public. It just hasn't taken. Now, one thing that is interesting with these titles, of course, is Special One. Well, I mean, this is something that we are all aware of now, but this is directly lifted from this. Back in the day, Doctor Who Weekly, a famous, solid comic strip called The Star Beast. Is Russell Drunk Dr. Lee Davis about to ruin that?
Well, he said it's going to be adapted. Of course, it has to be adapted. I'm right. You see, this is the thing again, isn't it? I mean, you either go very nerdy and right into it, or you're trying to think of the casual viewers who we actually really are trying to win back. And of course, people don't know. I'm not aware of Beat the Meep. I bought the magazine from the very beginning when it was weekly, but I never really properly looked at the comic strips. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, wow.
So when I hear about Beat the Meep and all the rest of it, I'm going, right, okay, why?
You need to go back and read the Star Beast, especially because it's a classic. It's an absolute, and I would say to anybody watching this, if you have never seen the original Doctor Who weekly ones, which started with the Iron Legion and it went through to the City of Damned, and then you eventually got to the Star Beast, you've got to look at them because they are beautifully written, beautifully illustrated and drawn. They tell proper British stories. I mean, look at the illustration there on the right. That was Britain back in the late 70s, you know, hanging over from the industrial a period that where we were making things and we were very, you know, we were very industrial at the time. But that is there. I mean, we've got the original character there of Sharon, who then became to be in the comic strip the Doctor's companion, and she went on to at least a year, I think it was, of adventures with the Doctor. Now that's obviously the role that's being played by Tasman Finney now. So that's interesting in a sense, maybe slightly hypocritical of Russell when he says that only gay people should be playing gay parts, or why shouldn't women be playing women's parts? But we'll move on from that. But no, so this is the thing. I mean, I'm actually excited to see Beep the Meep on the screen and the Roth as well. But I'm actually also very, very, very concerned.
The original authors and illustrators are on board with this, apparently.
Yes.
But who knows whether or not.
Well, I would hope they got paid, so I would be too.
yeah, of course, yeah. I'm glad you said that to stop me from having to. But yeah, have you seen the brief clip that looks as though they've done Beat the Meep well? Brendan, you're in for a treat if they do it properly. But unfortunately, we're all spoiled with this because the whole Beat the Meep thing was he was a lovely, cuddly, friendly.
Don't spoil anything. Don't put any spoilers into this.
He needs to be cuddly and friendly throughout. He's a lovely.
I mean, you have to go back if you haven't. As I say, if you haven't seen the original Doctor Who weekly comic strips, go back and have a look at that. If you are not going to do that yet and you're waiting for the next one, we won't talk anything more about that. But Beep the Meep is in there, and he is a famous character from Doctor Who weekly's Marvel days, and also made a couple of returns throughout the series' long history over there at Panini Comics, and that was when Panini or Marvel were actually giving us an absolute magazine that we all wanted to be. So just a reminder, that has come from there. That's the Star Beast, which is going to be episode 1, or special 1 as they're calling it, of the 60th anniversary specials, which are coming to BBC in November, and then very shortly after on Disney Plus. We're coming to the end of our time here on Sunday Live Breakfast this morning here on Who's Views, but I just wanted to round off with something fun. Now, long-running BBC television show, children's television show, Blue Peter, this month actually announced its latest Doctor Who competition. And I, as a merchandise collector, am really annoyed that I can't actually enter because I'm slightly older than 15 years old. But look at one of the prizes. You can get this absolutely gorgeous Blue Peter badge, which is the Doctor Who 60th anniversary logo with the iconic and cult Blue Peter logo, which, as we all know, is still, I am absolutely delighted to say, the Tony Hart designed Blue Peter ship. So what you have to do with this has come to celebrate, of course, Blue Peter and Doctor Who's long-running association and partnership. They've always had stuff going on with each other, and this is to celebrate Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. And the blurb was there: to enter the Blue Peter Doctor Who competition, you'll need to draw some amazing fan art to celebrate the 60th anniversary Doctor Who, and then please tell us why you would love the chance to win an exclusive VIP tour of the top secret Doctor Who set, and be one of the first members of the public to see the new era TARDIS. The Blue Peter Doctor Who competition is open from 5 p.m. on Friday the 28th of April, and it's closed actually on Monday the 15th. But from my point of view, this was another wonderful little gesture from the Blue Peter production team to support Doctor Who. But it's also, again, because this competition is open between from 5 to 15-year-olds, it's another one of those attempts by the production team to get young people watching the thing, isn't it? They want them back in here. They want them listening to what the stories and also listening to their preaching, let's be honest here, which is always worrying. But they want the young people back in. So going back to Blue Peter, as it has done since the 60s, was an obvious thing to do, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, please, I mean, just go back to the days when they did the Thunderbirds Island and everything. I mean, Tracy, please, I mean, let's make some Doctor Who kind of diorama. Let's do all that stuff. I mean, that's what won me over. Well, I was already won over, but that's what really got me excited in the kind of close season when you were waiting for it to come back. I mean, we've talked about trailers and teasers, but if you're talking about winning the kids over, you know, just show them a few clips. Remember when you were Blue Peter View and you got a couple of clips, and then suddenly there was a competition, or just they showed you how to make something while you were desperate to see Doctor Who come back in September. In the summer holidays, you were making a little diorama and doing stuff like that. I mean, that kept me going. Have to say.
Totally. I mean, Tarda Spider was saying that they don't have that. Nobody has a Blue Peter across the world. Blue Peter is uniquely British. Although I've noticed now the presenters are coming more from YouTube than they would from the acting world or the presenting world. So that dates me, you know, because I'm of the Leslie Judd, John Noakes, Peter Purvis, one of our own in Doctor Who, of course. I'm from that generation and grew up with them. But I'm so delighted that it's still going, even though I can't find it on the television. It's on it's on the whatever they call it now, on the other stuff, which is a shame. But I'm glad to see that the children are still going. And it would be very interesting to see, and I think we'll come back to it as well, who, if we can, whom the winner is and what they're doing. And also, they're not actually going to show anything until November, are they, of their set visit tour, because they don't want to reveal the new look TARDIS, especially until the anniversary month itself, although we all know there's been leaks going on in the last year. But I think we'll come back to that, because it's going to be very interesting to see how these kids have actually interacted with the show, don't you think?
Yeah, I haven't seen Blue Peter for years. It's stuck away in some channel for children now, is it not? It's not on.
I think it's on CBBC, according to this CBBC channel. Well, none of us are going to watch it. Come on, we're not the target audience, but it's lovely to see it's still going.
But occasionally I stray onto all manner of things on all manner of channels, you know what I mean?
I hate to think, viewers.
No. Dr. Pimple Popper was the most recent, which I strayed onto for 30 seconds and immediately strayed back off again. However, Blue Peter, and it does what, believe me, Dr. Pimple Popper does what it says in the title, and that's it. But Blue Peter I haven't seen. Now I might go and have a little look at this to see it. And I think you're quite right, JT. It's interesting if it is YouTubers, because that's where the future's at with these kids now. If they want to have kids coming into Blue Peter, then if they're going to follow their presenters.
But also there's a lot of untapped talent on YouTube. I've seen a lot of young people that are superb presenters. They're learning their craft. They're putting their shows together. They're doing what I was trained to do years ago with big galleries and big, huge equipment. And it's lovely to see them being able to move on to the television and stuff like that as well in this very difficult world.
I hope it does well, because that is a thing of beauty, the Blue Peter Doctor Who badge there. I only wish they'd done some of those sooner back in the day, because I wonder, are they a limited edition? Have they said how many?
Yes, they are. They're for the competition winners only, so they are limited edition, and that means that somebody like me, who's obviously into all the merchandise, is desperate to get one. So, dear Blue Peter, as an original Blue Peter badge holder back in the day, presented by Leslie Judd, hello. I'd love to have one of those, please. Any chance of accept? Please, you know, I'll do anything within reason. Thanks, listen, gentlemen, it's now coming up, believe it or not, to 11:30 on Sunday, the 28th of May. I don't know about you, but I have really enjoyed your company. I've really enjoyed talking about this on our first Who's Views Sunday Breakfast Live. How have you found it? How have you felt it's gone?
It's whizzed by, actually. It's whizzed by because of all the different items, actually.
Yeah, well,
I'm just glad that in the main my voice is held out, and my apologies for the Rod Stewart, Bonnie Tyler impersonation during this.
I didn't want to say that at the beginning of the show, but I'm glad you have done, because you reminded me of both. We also need to say thank you very much to MD coming in as our Australian correspondent to give us the update of what's going on down there with Australia. If you're an Australian fan, we feel for you. And obviously MD will be keeping us up to date as to what's happening there. But my goodness, you are going through a hell of a time down there right now. So this is Who's Views, and we are a brand new channel just for you. And on this channel, you can join us and my Whotastic panel for reviews, discussion, merchandise, and also this, our brand new Sunday Breakfast Live show, which will be with you on the last Sunday of every month, looking at the news reviews from the United Kingdom and hopefully abroad. And as I said earlier, if you think you can join us and be one of our foreign correspondents giving us the updates of what's happening in the Doctor Who land in your country, get in touch with us via our Facebook page, Who's Views. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this, our first show. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Look at all our content. Have a great time. Join in with us. Let's see. Let's have a go to the chat very, very quickly. Jamie Reese says, great show. Really enjoyed watching it. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, to the TARDIS Spider, thank you so much for getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to join us for your very early breakfast. Here's Paul. Great show, guys. All the best for the future. Thank you very much indeed. And to the wonderful Garbage, really appreciate you. You should have been sending us the coffee, my friend. But he loves the idea of the breakfast chat. Well, that's it from us for today. It is Sunday the 28th of May. We're coming up now to 11:30. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like and subscribe. And we'll see you again very soon for another one of our Who's Views Sunday Breakfast. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, JT. Well done.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.